Welcome back to another episode of Spotlight. We're filming live today at Next Focus Emerging Verticals, and I'm here with Jeff Laniado, the Director of Sales at Optimove. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, Stuart.
And just give us a bit of an overview then of what does Optimove do?
Sure. We are a CRM marketing platform that's focused on the iGaming industry. I like to boil it down that we help operators get a better understanding of who their customers are. We do a lot around intelligence and modeling and taking in operator data to translate that into what is the most effective way that they should be marketing to their players through emails and push notifications and SMS and mobile, and use all that intelligence to hopefully build out a really strong retention strategy for their players.
Fantastic. And Optimove has actually become one of the leading platforms, CRM marketing platforms for the industry. But tell me, how do clients actually benefit from all that iGaming expertise?
So I think there's two aspects to it. One, we are very much a gaming-focused software company. We're a pretty large company. We have about 600 employees. Almost all of our revenue comes from the gaming space globally. Mm-hmm. My role is gaming in the US and Canada. My boss's role is gaming in North America and South America. His boss oversees gaming globally. We are very much a gaming-focused company, and that means that we are experts in the space. The teams that are on the sales team and client success and even product, they are very much focused on the things that gaming operators care about. When we think about our product roadmap and the areas that we're investing in the technology, like any technology company, our product roadmap is driven by the things that our clients care about, and our clients largely consists of gaming operators. So everything around Optimove is gaming focused. So you kind of get to tap into that expertise and best practices and what the industry is leaning on and trends. But I think even within the platform itself, there are elements that are very much geared towards gaming operators. Mm-hmm. The types of segments that operators are targeting, types of bonuses and promos that are going out, even the metrics and KPIs that operators are looking to measure, it's all built in the platform. And because we sit in the middle of the industry, we work with so many different companies and so many different sub-verticals within gaming, obviously we're not sharing with client A, this is what client B is doing, but we have so much data, and what we're able to do is we aggregate that data and we can create benchmarks. So for example, we, in the last couple of years, have really invested in sweeps casinos, and we have dozens and dozens of sweeps casinos throughout the US and globally, and we have benchmark reports, meaning that all of our sweeps clients can log into Optimove and see all of their data benchmarked against the average US sweeps casino. And so if you have, an LTV of this, or your average purchase amount is this, and your retention rate is this, it's really difficult to know just looking at your own data in a vacuum. Are we doing well? Are we behind the mark? But because we have so much data and we aggregate it, we give you the lens to see, hey, we're doing really well with LTV, but our retention rate is actually below the benchmark. So it helps operators really take their data and see how they're benchmarking against other competitors.
Well, I think, the phrase that comes to mind is data is the new oil, right? And everyone has been talking about that for quite a while now, that data is the new oil. And if you're not using data to make those backed decisions, then what are you doing? There must be a lot of mistakes that are made when you're not using that backed data. And you rightly said about identifying trends, and being at Emerging Verticals today for this event is a good time for us to talk about the constant changes in the industry. We've got sweeps that have risen in prominence, and then also we now have massive discussions of prediction markets and where is that going to take the industry. From my point of view, I would just like to know, what types of gaming companies are you seeing entering this space right now? What sort of trends do they want to leverage, and how is your data within your platform helping those decisions?
Sure. So it's funny because I've been at Optimove for 6 years to the day, actually. I started March 9th, 2020, which was an interesting time of the world to be starting a new job, but been here for 6 years. And I think the first 3.5, 4 years, it felt like was almost exclusively focused on real money gaming.
Yeah.
Working with the Caesars and BetMGMs and Hard Rocks of the world. These are licensed real money gaming operators doing sports and casino. We started to see more DFS, but the first 4 years was largely real money gaming focused. And the last 2 years have been such a whirlwind of kind of sub-verticals within gaming. So obviously sweepstakes 2.5 years ago started to pop up, and we've really seen a huge influx of new operators in sweepstakes. And now we're even starting to see, obviously, prediction markets are a big part of the gaming landscape. Mystery boxes is another area within gaming that I think is probably not being talked about enough.
Okay.
You know, it seems like every year there's this theme, right? And you center it around an event, maybe it's G2E. 2 years ago, everybody's talking about sweepstakes. They come up to our booth, 90% chance something out of their mouths is something sweepstakes, right? And this past year, and even this conference right here, the first 3 hours of content, it feels like prediction markets I think prediction markets was actually at least the headline topic of every content session so far this morning. And it's interesting to look ahead and say, like, what is the next one going to be? And I don't have a crystal ball, but mystery boxes are definitely like a looming potential area that we're seeing as this, maybe under looked at regulatory model, right? And these are kind of e-com companies that are popping up, and they can offer goods and they can offer services of value, and players can have a probability of winning these. And it's effectively a form of gaming, but not fitting into any of these square boxes that everybody else is kind of trying to regulate. So mystery boxes are certainly another one. I think I'm always on my toes for what the next operator is going to be bringing to the table and what sub-vertical is going to pop up next.
It's interesting with mystery boxes because it seems to come in waves. I mean, I guess within that sort of gaming context, I've been familiar with that sort of mechanism for many years. When you think about CS:GO, so Counter-Strike, and these blind boxes when it comes to your skins, that's been present for a while, but never in the real money aspect of the industry. And then also something that rose in prominence last year was these blind boxes that were produced by PopMart, like the Labubus sort of trend. Do you think that is going to eventually come into the industry? And why do you think we are overlooking that sort of trend as well?
I think a couple of things. One, prediction markets are just such a huge headline grabber right now. You have these 2 companies, 3 companies, if you want to include Robinhood, and then you have DraftKings and FanDuel that are popping into it. These are multi-billion-dollar companies that are throwing their weight around in prediction markets, and it's so wide sweeping. And we saw some data in an earlier session. Just the scale of prediction markets is so massive that it's impossible to ignore, and that is just dominating a lot of the conversation. And much in the way that maybe DFS was kind of looming, and then these kind of trends sit behind another trend until it's their turn to pop up. So I think prediction markets are just stealing the spotlight. I also don't think that mystery boxes have emerged as maybe like a player hasn't really emerged yet as a household name. I mean, I'm still explaining like the mechanics of mystery boxes to people at a gaming conference. So I don't think it's really caught on yet. Obviously, there are pockets and there are investors that are looking to expose their portfolio to some of these. And there are some sites that are getting decent traction, but nobody's really, if I were to ask 10 people to name a sports book, you're going to get, 4 FanDuel, 4 DraftKings, 1 Caesars, 1 Fanatics, right? If I were to ask 10 people to name a prediction market, you'd get probably 5 Kalshi, 5 Polymarket, or whatever the ratio is. If I were to ask 10 people, even at a gaming conference, like name a mystery box, you'd probably get a variety of different answers and maybe even a few what's a mystery box. So nobody's really attached their name and their brand to this trend. But I think if and maybe when somebody does, or maybe when one of the big existing brands, one of the incumbent players pivots into that, right? And this is not something that's in actuality going to happen, but like if DraftKings tomorrow were to launch a mystery box, I think it would probably emerge as a growing trend. But until then, it's kind of looming in the background.
Looming. Well, I mean, if anyone's watching this interview, then they have that idea, they can thank you for it, I think. Maybe they can give you some commission as well. Obviously, it wouldn't be an interview without talking about AI, right? So what is your approach to investing in and integrating and building with AI at Optimove?
Yeah, obviously a huge buzzword. It's obviously something that we're talking about now. We've been talking about for a while. I generally, I think AI has become a little bit of a crutch as a term in a lot of ways. You see a lot of vendors that rely on AI as their solution for solving every problem. And so I try to make it a point to really define and articulate when we say AI, what do we really mean? And I break it down really into two categories. One is more AI-generated content, right? And if you think about the CRM world, using AI to build out an email template or build out copy, right? Write me an email for a VIP player that we haven't seen in 7 days. You hit a button, boom, you have an email that's built out. Create me an image of a woman winning at a slot machine. 5 seconds, it produces an image. That's what I would say is AI-generated content, and I think that's become pretty prevalent. I think a lot of tools have it. I think it's become pretty understood about what that is and what that does.
Yeah.
The other angle of it is really AI decisioning. The idea that, hey, I'm going to send an email to 1,000 players. What bonus should they get, right? Should some of these players get a deposit match? Should some of these players get free spins? How do you decide at scale across 1,000 players which promotion each player should get?
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of tap into this idea of AI decisioning, and that's where the Optimove model comes into play, where we're looking at, okay, what have players responded to historically? What have players that look like these customers had a propensity for in the past? And that's where we start to use this data to make decisions, and that is what I would say is more the opportunity to differentiate around AI-generated decision-making at scale, around bonuses, around channel, around time of day. And I think to us, this is really the more exciting opportunity that lie ahead.
Now, when you mentioned the AI-generated content, now when I think of CRM and what I'm familiar with, I think of HubSpot when I use AI, sometimes Salesforce as well. But I think what came to my head is that I would imagine that Optimove would have a much better AI-generated content mechanism for specifically the iGaming industry than your HubSpots or your Salesforce. So I want to validate that with you. Is that the case? And also, are those your main competitors in this space as well when it comes to your industry customers? And just tell me, why should they be choosing Optimove over, say, a HubSpot or a Salesforce?
So, funny enough, I'll make the distinction. I would say they're not competitors, HubSpot and Salesforce. And the misnomer is that the acronym CRM really has two meanings. So one is customer relationship management, and that's Salesforce, that's HubSpot, and it's really probably the more popular definition of CRM.
Yeah.
Salesforce's stock ticker is CRM,
Yeah.
and when people say CRM, most of the time they think of a customer relationship manager. At Optimove, we use HubSpot as our B2B relationship manager. We use it to manage leads and deals and contacts, and we use it as a repository to manage businesses, right? It's a B2B CRM system, I would say.
Yeah.
The other side of the coin is CRM marketing, which is a little bit redundant because it's customer relationship marketing, but the M is not management, it's marketing. And when you say CRM marketing, that's more around a B2C company using marketing, using communication to engage and ultimately retain their existing players. Kind of synonymous with database marketing, or people even will call it retention marketing. And every B2C business in the world has a retention marketing strategy, is using CRM. If it's Starbucks and they have the mobile app and they're giving you a push notification because they know you just walked by a store, or they haven't seen you in 2 Saturdays and they want to give you a free latte or whatever the promotion is. All of these B2C businesses are using CRM marketing to market to their players. That's where Optimove comes in. And it's funny because sometimes we do get mixed up into a situation where an operator will come in And typically this is maybe a smaller operator that isn't as well informed, but they'll say, oh, we're looking at Optimove or we're looking at HubSpot. And we'll be like, somebody's in the wrong conversation. What are you really looking to do? Because we use HubSpot, right? Yeah. We're not true competitors in that sense. So there is that kind of misnomer within the CRM space of what is CRM from a B2B standpoint and what is CRM from a B2C standpoint.
Gotcha. Well, you've cleared it up for me. How would you go about clearing up that misnomer for those people that do come to you? How would you go about doing that before they come to you with that misnomer? Is there any tactics that you would take to actually educate even people watching right now? How would you educate them on those differences?
Yeah. I mean, the easy rule of thumb is if you're a B2B company, if you're selling to other businesses, you're not generally looking for CRM marketing, right? You don't probably have this huge database where you're sending out tons and tons of emails where you would need a tool like Optimove to manage that. You're probably managing leads or you're managing companies, right? I'm sure like Next has a B2B CRM software, I would assume, that manages sponsors like Optimove.
Indeed.
If you are a B2C company, and that's where operators are, generally. There are some companies out there that have both businesses, but if you're an operator,
thousands of customers.
Exactly. If you're an operator, you're by definition a B2C organization, and that's where you would need an Optimove or something of the like to manage that marketing to these large groups of customers.
Gotcha. I mean, it does clear things up because my headspace is B2B, so I'm obviously missing that connection. So thank you for actually clearing that up to me. The final question that I actually have is around your Ignite Plus platform. What is it?
Sure.
And what does it mean for early stage operators?
Yeah. So, Optimove's been around for a while, working with a lot of the big gaming operators. And I think at some point we started to gain the perception that Optimove is only for the big guys. We work with Bet365, we work with Stake.com, we work with Entain. If I'm a startup, if I'm a pre-launch sweeps company, if I'm a small DFS brand, is Optimove the best fit for me when they're working with these large enterprise clients? Yeah. And so about a year and a half ago, we started to hear that feedback and we launched the Ignite Plus program. And effectively what it is, it's a program for what we call emerging operators. So startups, early stage. We launched it about a year and a half ago. It's been a huge success. We've really adapted the product, the commercial structure, the way that we onboard new clients for this SMB, even mid-market to an extent, part of the business. And there's a number of different elements to it. One is more aggressive commercial terms that make Optimove more accessible, more affordable for companies that maybe even don't have their first customer. A lot of Ignite Plus clients are pre-launch operators that haven't even made their first dollar, yet they understand the value of investing in retention and CRM, so that when they do start to pay to acquire new players, they have that really strong retention foundation in place to keep players engaged and maximize LTV. So even before they're generating revenue, we've built this structure to make it more accessible to them. The other piece of it is we have an entire services arm at Optimove, where we have the platform, we have the software capabilities, but we have a whole services arm that can perform a number of different services for clients. Ignite Plus clients get to tap into that services piece included in the price, where we're actually stepping in and even in some cases building out their CRM program for them. We're building out their welcome journey or their win back campaign or their balance reminder. And these are companies that sometimes have 5 full-time people or 10 full-time people, so they don't have that full-time CRM person that's going to sit in Optimove and own these campaigns and build them out.
Right.
So these Ignite Plus clients have the ability to tap into this ecosystem of Optimove and really go 0 to 1 and build out that foundation for CRM, even as an early stage operator.
So when we're talking about early stage operators, what are the sort of types of operators that you've currently been working with, just to kind of bring it back to like the reality of the people watching? Is it the traditional iGaming, sweepstakes, maybe even in future it could be someone exploring the mystery boxes? What are the types of games and operators are we talking about here?
Yeah. A little bit of a loaded question because,
of course.
Listen, there's like the pre-launch sweeps operators, because this idea of like emerging operators is a little bit vague, right? We don't have a threshold of, they have to be this size or this revenue or this many employees. It's a little bit discretionary, but it's very obvious when it's a pre-launch sweeps company with 7 people that's opening up a new sweeps casino, right? That's an Ignite Plus emerging operator. If you have a small DFS brand that maybe they've been around for 2 years, but they haven't really hit scale yet.
Okay.
Sure, that's to us as an emerging operator. They're still a startup. They're still operating like that. But we have a case of a land-based casino in Canada that has been in operation for years and years and years, and they have a team that has been employed by them for a long time, and they are now going online in Alberta. So they have 0 iGaming customers. They have 0 online customers. They have an entire land-based operation. Is that considered an Ignite Plus candidate? And yes, we are including them in this situation, but it is a unique scenario because they are not a startup. I would not call them a startup. They've been in operation for decades, and their employees have been there for decades, and they have hundreds of employees, but they are pre-launching into a new market and they have 0 customers. So, it's in those instances, it's a little bit of a case-by-case basis, but it can really vary.
So the final question that I have is, for anyone watching, how would they go about getting in touch with you to learn more about the Ignite Plus platform, or just Optimove broadly? How would they get in touch? How would they get involved? And what does that process look like for them too when they're exploring this with you?
Sure. LinkedIn is a great start. I'm active on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. We can have a conversation, see if it's a potential fit. You can also go right to the Optimove website and submit a request for a demo or more information. We're pretty out there. We're sponsoring all the events and everything around the industry, so we should be pretty accessible. But if you want to reach out individually on LinkedIn, that's certainly an option too.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Jeff, for taking the time and also for educating me on both Optimove and CRM marketing, which is very different from what I imagined it to be. And looking forward to what happens with the Ignite Plus platform in future as well. It sounds very exciting, and it's got a lot of growth potential clearly. So I'm looking forward to what happens next.
Sounds good. Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you so much.